Good day, Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akal. Welcome to Honey Walia Show. I'm your host Sonal Fool. We today, like in Honey Walia Show, we don't talk just about the social issue. We bring the expertise who can give us a more inside stories. We can give us a more expert ideas, views. Today we have Wheadon with us. He is a financial consultant and is a social worker. We are going to ask him some financial questions, estate planning, and the social issues, especially related to the LGTBQ and transgender community. Welcome, Kali. Thanks a lot for coming to the show.
Thank you very much, Sunny. I really appreciate it. This is such an honor.
Thank you, Kali. Kali, now as we talked earlier too, you did mention you are a financial consultant. So when we say financial consultant, how different they are from the financial advisor, financial manager? Could you explain us a little bit?
I like to consider I do more than just encompassing all about finances. When I'm consulting with a client, potentially, I like to go in a complete broad spectrum of where they're at, from mindset to end results. So holistically, I like to take a look at everything. You know, what is your association with money? Are you actually repelling it, or are you actually attracting it? You know, subconsciously, we could be doing things that we don't even realize we're doing, and it's stopping us from actually succeeding. So I like to kind of get more in depth and consult with the person on how to get them out of that, and then how to get them to succeed.
Thank you, Kali. So when we talk about the financial, we not only talk about what we are today, what we will be in future, and especially when we are gone too, like how the transition will happen, how the money will transfer to our loved ones. So could you give us a little bit more on financial planning, how it involves estate planning also?
Well, when you think about, if you go generational, our parents have thoughts about money and finance, and they actually project it onto us. They sometimes don't mean to. So sometimes we have negative thoughts on money. But going from where we are today to the future is, are we ready for retirement? How do we get ready for retirement? And when we pass on, what are we actually leaving our family? Are we leaving them in a better place financially, or are we actually setting them backwards? So our debt does not just get wiped away when we pass away. So that's a big thing to make sure that things are covered through life insurances, through estate planning, having a will. That's a big thing. As people who grow and have families, your kids don't automatically go to another family member. So if mom and dad both pass away, kids just don't automatically go to the grandparents or to their aunt and uncles. They will actually go to the state, which means they'll go to the government, they will go into foster care, and then the process starts. So kids go into the so-called estate. So making sure that you have a will set in place, that you have a place for your kids to go to. You have your belongings that you are leaving behind. Where are they going? Do you want to leave money to charity? Do you want to leave money to family members? How are you paying off your taxes? So prime example, when my sister passed away 7 years ago, she didn't have insurance. But anything in the savings was locked. Her property was locked. My parents couldn't pay for it. It's incurring interest even though she's passed away. If you have registered retirement savings plans, they get cashed in. You have to pay tax on that. Or the person that's passed away goes into their estate, and then the estate has to pay taxes. There's no money in the estate. The family members will have to pay for that.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. So now you are a financial consultant, and then you're part of the LGBT community too. How it relates, how do you differentiate, or how you relate to things?
Well, originally, so I used to work oil and gas. So you can imagine the difference from going from oil and gas to finances. One, language. Completely. People talk very, very differently.
I agree.
I was born this way, mentally, but physically I was actually born female. So as you're seeing me on camera, you probably see a very male persona. That is because I am transgender. So what that means is, in my 40s, I decided to go through puberty, which was very different. You know, I embraced who I am internally. So how does that affect me in business? When I was a female being, I guess you could say gay or lesbian, there was some struggles. You know, there was conversations that weren't always appropriate per se, but I also just knew the industry I was in.
You mean oil trade?
In the oil trade. So I just knew the industry I was in. I was always aware of my surroundings and how whatever I was doing was affecting other people. So coming into finances, it was actually somebody in our office that made a joke about something, and it was actually very therapeutic for me. And I'll say it, he goes, "You're not gay. You walk like a man, you act like a man, you dress like a man, you're a man." And I just kind of went, thank you for that. You know, no one's ever really pointed that out, and he wasn't trying to be derogatory or rude about it. He was pointing out a fact. And I realized I was not living my truth. So in one of our conferences, I actually stood on stage and announced I was transgender in front of 750 people. And now I'm probably announcing it to a lot more. And it was scary for me. And I got a standing ovation. People were crying and cheering, and I walked off stage, and this guy that I hold very highly respectful came barreling over a table, and I thought he was going to kill me. Literally, like I was kind of freaked out. And he hugged me, and he goes, "I had no idea." I truly believe that my business has improved because I became true to who I was, but I'm not throwing it in people's faces. And I truly believe that that is the difference, is I'm owning who I am, but I'm still respectful of who's around me.
So you have to know your audience.
You have to know your audience.
So, you know, being part of the South Asian community, I have some conversation, I have been part of the discussions, being in a safety professional or a non-profit organization, even engaging the conversation about the LGTBQ issues, transgender, is not easy. As you told me, you worked in the World Financial Group where you have a lot of different groups or people. Let me reword my question. Like, you work with the World Financial Group where you have different sets of people, different orientation, they have come from different parts of the world, they're different religion, different languages, how they have treated you. Did you think you were disconnected or not well respected? What your thoughts are on that?
I truly feel that I've never been disrespected in my position. I did have someone ask me if I was going to change my name. They're like, "Well, that's a very feminine name." They came from a different culture. They were not disrespecting me. They were curious and asking me. And I said, "Well, actually, no, I don't want to confuse myself. This is all about me." And I was joking, but I said, "Why would I change my name? Kelly is a very unisex name in North America or in Canada." And they just kind of went, "Oh, well, where I come from, Kelly is only a female name." And I said, "Well, that's very interesting. I did not know that." So it was nice to learn from them. I just feel that it's about educating. And if you're educating the right way and you just take a question, you ponder it and go, maybe, what did you mean by that? Sometimes questions aren't meant to be, interrogative or rude. You'll know when someone's being rude. Like, I usually can pick up on it if someone's kind of crossing the line or if they're just being rude. The way you're asking questions, I'm not taking anything offensive because I know you're inquiring, you're being inquisitive. That's very different if you're asking questions out of being an arrogant jerk.
So, Kali, as you have raised a very good question, like when we are asking a question, because we are curious, we are not aware of it, we don't know the truth behind. So do you, when someone asks me a question, sometimes they are more aggressive, they are more passive, the tone change because it's a curiosity is there. What you want to say, if some person is asking a question or they are not aware of it, or they have never had this kind of a discussion, what you suggest them, how they can start the conversation or where they can find the information?
I will say, don't Google. Google's not always your friend. But there are different programs out there. There's PFLAG. There are specific psychiatrists and psychologists who do have answers. Tamara Gartner is a great one. She helps a lot of the transgender community, gay and lesbian community, the whole community, the community in a whole. If you do know someone who is a friend, that you feel that you can ask them a question, blatantly say to them, hey, I have a question, I don't know how to ask it, I'm just going to say it the way it's going to come out, and I mean no offense. Now, if you're asking me that, I'll be like, okay, great. Ask away. It's up to me if I get offended. Okay, so I will take 100% responsibility of, wow, that offended me the way you asked, but you prepped me to say that you didn't mean to offend me. So why are we taking it as an offense? So we have to kind of see that for ourselves as well. But I like curiosity. I like people asking me questions. However, I will admit, questions can get very inappropriate when it comes to kind of the bedroom stuff or surgeries and things like that, because they're not normal questions you would ask a heterosexual couple or a straight couple. But at the same time, why not? It's all an assumption. We assume we know what a man and a woman does. But do we really? There could be some things that they like to do that isn't quote unquote normal for other people. So why is it a specific group that gets these open questions, I guess you could say, or more in-depth questions?
I agree. It's like what we do in four walls is belong to us. Is either we are heterosexual, homosexual, transgender. It's personal. Should I be asking you that question? I don't think so. It's your personal, what you like, what you desire, what your passion is, it stays with you. Kelly, you were in oil industry, then you came to financial, then you went for sex change, if I may say. You did inform your parents, you did inform your co-workers, you went through the whole process. So my question to you is, like, as a parent or as a son also, but like I have my parents, then I have my kids. Like if your child or you whatever you are facing or you're experiencing, how do you handle it? How do you overcome? Is any right way to inform?
For me, it was when I originally came out in my 20s that I was gay and that I liked women. I was a woman liking women. I just found that I was never had a hate on for men or anything like that. I just knew I was better me being with a woman. But then it came that I was disrespectful of my time with my parents or of myself, staying out late and all these different things that we go through in our 20s and maybe our late teens. And it was my mom that noticed something was changing in me then. And she approached me. And it wasn't a good coming out per se. But I also didn't respect me. The self-love that we have to have for ourselves, that's a big thing. Respect the people that you're telling who you're coming out to. So when I told my parents I was transgender, they're 75. I come from a very small town. This is not something that's, I would say, normal, because we just don't talk about it. So really, what is normal? So when I told my mom and dad, is like, hey, I've been going through some things and I need to do this journey. This is the only way I feel whole. And my parents just said, we want you to be happy. We love and respect you. But if you're a jerk no matter if you're transgender, you're straight, you're gay. It doesn't matter. And when I started going to support groups, I started to hear a lot of people going, well, they're calling me by the name I was born, and they're misgendering me and this and that. And I started to realize this was just when my sister passed away. So my parents were mourning another loss of their daughter. Yes, they're gaining a son, but they still have to go through that process of mourning. Your friends have to go through that process of mourning, of knowing who you were to seeing you change into somebody new. You might not be different, but physically you are. And it's constant things that we have to think about. So if we're focusing on don't call her, she's a he now. Well, as soon as we start focusing on don't call them that, well, of course we're automatically going to do it because we're focusing on that. So we have to give patience and leniency.
Both sides.
Both sides, and I realized, I'm not changing my name. It was easy for me. But as someone who's going to go through a name change and stuff, maybe ask your parents. Bring them part of your journey. And I asked my parents, and I said, Mom, what would you, if I was to change my name, what would it be? My mom had an answer right then and there. And I was like, oh, you've thought about this?
That's good.
So maybe your parents kind of have an instinct. Maybe they do know. And respect them to be part of that journey. You're being reborn. Okay? If you're 15 or you're 25, they've had you as their child at a certain gender for that long. It's just not going to change overnight. For us, we've gone through years of maybe turmoil and triggers and struggles of defining and identifying who we are. And then we make a decision that we want to go this way. But to our friends and family, it was a decision that day, even though it's been years of working and building up to it.
So Kali, another question. You did mention you are a financial consultant. In a normal term, like when we are doing the estate planning, or we are doing the finances, or when we are doing the life insurances, do you think for LGTBQ is a more need or more acceptance needed, or the rules need to be changed? And especially if LGBTQ couple or transgender couple has adopted a child, or the family is growing, how it will be different, or it need to be done different way?
Going back to the will, legally protect everything. And the biggest thing is too, with insurances, it's gender at birth. Sex at birth. I was always told, sex is between the legs, gender is between your ears. How we think is a gender, how we identify is a gender. Physically, men and women's bodies are different. Taking as much testosterone as possible, I will never be, and I get that. So when it comes to medical, there still is only the two. So as males, more testosterone can also mean more heart disease, more risks to our bodies. But for insurance companies, they just want to know sex at birth. Someone who's transgender, I identify male, my insurance policies say I'm female. I'm okay with that. Sorry if I'm covering the mic. I'm okay with that. But there are going to be people who are not. So as the consultant, I can guide people through that too. And if you haven't had your name changes and you don't want to write down what we call the dead name, the name you were born at, but you've changed it to something else, you're going to need assistance on doing those documents. We can help you with that.
Fantastic. My other question will be about the mental health, or acceptance, or a support, especially for the South Asian community, or the people who are still, I should not be saying taboo, but we are learning how to accept or to go further. Any thoughts?
Mental health is such a big issue because I think everybody has some form of, I'm going to say mental issues. We all do. We all go through periods of sadness or periods of unknown, and I like to say it's not ignorance per se, it's just we're not educated in that. It's just not been around us, so we don't know. And that's why religion is so different too, is we can come from different cultures, come to Canada, and it's like there's so much difference, but there's so much to learn. Acceptance really comes down to the respect on both sides, and really comes down to the self-love. Is it wrong? Culturally, biblically, is it? That's the past. Do we live in the past, or do we try and move forward? As a parent, it can be hard because you have expectations. Unfortunately, we do. We have expectations of our children. They're going to grow up, they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, they're going to have this, and this. They're going to go to school, they're going to be doctors and lawyers, and then they want to be an entrepreneur. Things change. How do we accept it? Is just open communication. That's a big thing. as a parent, talk about your struggles too. And I say this that if your kid is coming to you and wanting to say, hey, I believe I'm transgender, and you want to help them and guide them, I'm going to respectfully say, be careful. Because as a parent, you can be like, we got to Google this, we got to look this up, we got to do all this. Here, you need to get on hormones, you need to do all this. But maybe the kid's actually not ready. Maybe it's just something that they heard from friends. Maybe it's something that they're curious to know more about. Guide them to let them research it. If they want to know, they will find out, and they will get into the feelings of it. It's so hard to talk about feelings. I hate the F word. I really do. It is a thing that is very hard to talk about, even as a parent. And it's going to be a journey, and everybody's journey is going to be different. Every family dynamic is going to be different.
So, what's your last thought or message you would like to give to both the communities, transgender, LGBT community, or straight? Is the right wording, or is
I know that's a tough one.
Okay,
everybody.
Let's say, what the message would you like to give to the community?
You know what? That we're one community. It doesn't matter who you want to hold hands with, who you want to kiss, who you want to wake up with. We're one community. And we treat people as human beings and respectfully, and just know that people are not going to like us. Not everyone's going to like us. That's going to happen in business. That's going to kind of happen in friendships. That's just going to happen in life. Once we realize that and just go, I just want to be the best me I can be and be respectful of everybody and respect the people around me, then everything else will come easy. And I say that because I've grown up, I will say, very blessed. I come from a very small community, a very small town where we didn't have gay people. We didn't, not that I knew of, we assumed somebody was in high school, but we never really pointed that out. We never really cared. It was just whatever. And I think if we have that attitude of just embracing differences, that calmness and peace will come out of it. And if we just treat everybody that we are one community, then I don't see why we can't just respect and learn from each other on both sides.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks a lot. So we are back. Thank you, Kelly. We had Kelly Wheadon today. He talked about one community. He talked about the respect. He gave us an insight and of the LGBT community. So guys, if you have any questions, don't be scared, don't be afraid. Ask for a help, because we are learning, and be respectful. If you have a coworker who are different, who believe in a different philosophy or orientation, respect them, and if you don't know, learn about it. Once again, thank you. Welcome to Honey Walia Show, and I'm your host, Sonal Fool. Take a leave till we meet next. Thank you.